Good morning, everyone. Happy to introduce you to the second day of Virtuality. We're really pleased to have Anna with us. Anna is a researcher and XR design ethicist, and she'll be talking today about the ethical framework for XR. The floor is yours, Anna.
Thank you for the introduction. It's a great pleasure to be here this morning with you, and I just wanted to take a little moment to thank all the organizers of Virtuality for doing an excellent job this year. I've been very much enjoying wandering around the exhibition hall. I find it very elegant and well crafted, and well, thank you for the opportunity to be here. So let's dive into the presentation. Just one second. Changing the slides. There we go. Okay, so as you guys just heard, my name is Anna Valeri. I'm a researcher and design ethicist at the Ethical Framework for XR, which we abbreviate as EF4XR. Before moving into the content of the presentation, which will be dedicated to the ethical challenges in the industry, as well as the introduction to the initiative that my team and I are currently launching, the EF4XR. I'd like to first get some of the definitions out of the way, because, you know, ethics is such a big word, and I just want to make sure that all of us are aligned when it comes to understanding what it actually means. So ethics in classical philosophy is basically defined as the study of what is morally right and wrong. And as this little picture in the side suggests, it's, at least in the Western variant of it, originates from the ancient Greece. However, I'm sure all of you will agree that since the ancient Greece, quite a lot of things have changed, and we live in these, you know, interconnected, complex, globalized world that are technologically intertwined and really fast-paced. And the world has also become, as a result of these technologies, actually more polarized than ever. And I think the last thing we need is rigid classifications of right and wrong, you know, and sort of stigma that may arise out of it. So what I propose is that we borrow from the Greeks the tradition of gathering together, you know, in these collective forums and discussing issues at hand and looking for answers together. So ethics in XR, therefore, the way I see it, becomes more like an invitation to explore together, a mental framework for thinking of XR in a critical manner to anticipate dangers and maximize benefits of immersive worlds. And as you can imagine, you know, when it comes to ethics and XR, there can be a lot of contradictions, a lot of things that are not very clear, you know, otherwise I wouldn't be here with you today to be discussing all of this. And so in this overlap between the two worlds is where a design ethicist like myself comes in. And the design ethicist is a term that I actually borrowed from Tristan Harris, who pioneered this role first at Google before launching his own responsible tech movement. And so in my case, being a design ethicist is really not about preaching to organizations on how to do things well. It is rather, you know, to supply organizations with the knowledge and tools necessary so they can take informed decisions and engage in an informed dialogue, and then eventually get to the right answers themselves through this collective exploration. And so before we dive into the actual ethical challenges, I would first like to have a quick look at the way our brain works. Why that is, because by understanding how our operating system functions, we begin to anticipate where and why things can go wrong with XR and any other medium in general. To keep it short, for a long time it was believed that the human brain reaches its full maturity in our mid-20s, when it becomes as good as formed. But with time, the field of neuroscience and psychology have provided us with ample evidence to the fact that actually the brain continues to change throughout our lifetime. The brain has this quality to it, which in the medical jargon is known as plasticity. So it's basically quite flexible and context-driven, and the environment is capable of shaping the way we think, retain memories, and interact with one another in significant ways, to the point where even our genetic makeup our genes, they change in the process and even get passed on to the next generations in this modified form. And so when it comes to the media, of which of course XR is part, media have been a crucial part of this context. That conditions our development and conditions our identity. And since the advent of the internet and the digital technologies entering mainstream, this impact has become particularly big because we interact with these technologies on such a regular, extensive basis. And Nicholas Carr is one of my favorite experts to bring into this discussion. He wrote this book, The Shallows, How the Internet is Changing the Way We Think, Read, and Remember, where he basically said that, every new medium is a small revolution in itself, particularly with the digital technologies that is very tangible, and these technologies are literally able to reroute our neural pathways and change our entire, cognitive processes, memory retention, thought formulation, etc. And so the brain is becoming rewired neurologically, but there is another challenge there is that, and once again, I bring Tristan Harris back into the discussion. He wrote in one of his articles, Our Brains Are No Match for Our Technology, where he basically explains that whereas technology is becoming very complex and very fast-paced with these godlike powers, our brain, even though it is very, flexible and has this plasticity to it, it remains very much ancient in the way that it processes information. And considering that we are constantly bombarded by information and there's a lot of visual input coming from all these different digital media, the brain is basically faced with unprecedented challenges, which make it vulnerable, which make it unpredictable to some extent, and basically requires extensive research and monitoring to make sure that things don't go wrong and we don't just overpower it in ways that are undesirable. And so we know that with XR, the revolution that is happening and the impact on us is particularly big because it's the first group of media in human history, that are trying to sort of completely blur this line between the user and the medium and merges together with the medium. So we become one. And you might be wondering, what does that mean? It's all negative? Or no, not really. It's both positive and negative. And here I like to bring in the metaphor of the Faustian bargain, which currently, which commonly comes up in when discussing philosophy in tech. And the Faustian bargain is basically inspired by this German legend, where the main character, scholar Faust, he traded his soul with the devil in exchange for unlimited knowledge and worldly pleasures. So Faustian bargain is essentially a trade-off where something good and precious to us is gained while other equally essential is lost. And so while XR already offers us incredible experiences and will only get better with time in that sense, we have to understand that there will be certain sacrifices that we might have to make in the process. So a price to pay for living in virtual worlds. And so to understand what kind of price we're talking about, let's now have a look at the ethical challenges I've mapped out for our talk today. Some will concern only VR technology, which is the most immersive one, but others will be relevant to the entire XR group as a whole. So a quick disclaimer, the ethical field is quite huge. Some experts in the field, like Kent by the way, did a particularly great job at outlining all of these in a quite exhaustive manner. So check him out. His manifesto for XR is particularly excellent in that sense. But for today, I shall focus on sort of giving you an overview of the highlights that I find particularly thought-provoking. And the way I organize those is by looking at the different relations that make up human existence, because that is a way to also illustrate to you that XR technologies, they really have now become to penetrate all of these different layers. So the first layer is our relationship with ourselves, the way we construct our identity. The second one is the social relations that we have in our lives, as well as, and this is an interesting layer, the one with the big brother, which I'm sure you can guess why I called it that, but basically the big brother here is the platform host that, constructs these worlds and monitors us in these worlds, virtual worlds, while we're in it. So to move on to the first part, where we discuss our relationship with ourselves and our identity. It seems that, for me personally, I always thought that what is so surprising? What is so surprising about choosing an avatar? It seems like such an innocent choice. So what, if I choose a different tone for my skin, or I become a man instead of a woman. But actually, empirical evidence in the field have shown that there are significant changes in behavior and personality that we observe in users after they return to the real world. So basically, the avatar that you choose in the virtual world and the way that avatar looks makes you sort of perform a certain role. You have a role associated with a certain appearance, and you translate that role not only into your behavior in virtual worlds, but also when you come out. And we've seen, and here the Faustian bargain starts playing in, that there are positive and negative changes that may come out of this transformation or this altered self-representation. And so we see that, through embodying different avatars, people have, been able to become more altruistic towards others, more confident, feel more attractive about themselves, become wiser with retirement savings, and even decrease implicit racial bias towards others. On the negative spectrum as well, we see that, since we've already had ample evidence of that in psychology for a couple of decades now, that people can also become more violent and obey moral orders in VR, even though they know that it's all virtual and they know that they're being observed. They're still we become so carried away, I guess, with that role that it becomes sort of a new way to influence our identity. And so if experiences enabled through immersive worlds shape the very identity of the user, that poses a number of questions for the industry to answer together. Like, how can we maximize self-expression while minimizing harm? And to what extent is behavioral nudging acceptable or even desirable in that context? Moving on to the social aspect of social relations, I think the most interesting development that we'll see coming, in the next couple of years will be the convergence of VR and social media. And that is important because just like social media introduce new forms of everyday social interactions without which we can't imagine our lives, VR might do exactly the same thing. And once again, on the positive side of it, we will see a lot of exciting developments happening. We will see, users are already reporting that while they're in VR, they're able to hang out with their friends in such exciting ways, and they have this opportunity to connect with others and overcome the sort of biases that we may have that are dependent on someone else's physical appearance, and really connect on a deeper human level. But that may also lead to social isolation, might lead people to give up on real life interactions altogether, the way we already do with gaming, and the fictional nature of avatars and the anonymity that it can sometimes provide may result in some people feeling more bold to disrespect others and engage in undesirable behaviors. So with harassment, for instance, I found, a particularly interesting statistic. So from a study of 2018, where over 600 users were involved, and it was shown through 36% of men and 49% of women experienced sexual harassment in VR. And so we see that, these experiences enabled through immersive worlds can reshape the social fabric of our society. And once again, there are certain questions that come with it. So what behaviors should be tolerated in VR worlds? How will our virtual relationships coexist with the real ones? Should users be actively encouraged to unplug from extensive immersion or not? And finally, the big brother. Here, I won't go into much detail. And as you can see, the opposition between the good and bad here is a lot less. And I'm sort of going to focus more on the bad because I think, there are actually certain things happening that require our attention. And it's the fact that, tech platforms will basically get even more powerful thanks to XR technologies when it comes to their surveillance powers. And why do I say that? Because XR technologies are basically increasing our digital footprint. They are a source of extremely valuable data for tech platforms, and we can see how Facebook, for example, now is already forcing users to use their Facebook login to use Oculus Quest 2. So that basically shows that there is something very valuable about obtaining access to people's movements, the way they talk, the way they move their eyes, all of those things, all of that intimate data is very, very valuable when it comes to trading it to third parties. And what makes the XR data particularly tricky and dangerous, I guess, is the fact that it is more difficult to de-identify a particular user, to make someone anonymous in XR, than the data that we already generate while just being involved in social media and other digital platforms. And sort of that, of course, invites a lot of regulatory scrutiny. Lawmakers really need to take it seriously, and us as an industry, we need to really profoundly question the nature of informed consent, because that's something we can already control, and currently we observe these information asymmetries, and the fact that, tech platforms, they really do not want people to understand the terms and conditions, even if they are available. And once again, there are interesting numbers that I've come across here, basically saying that, with already the terms and conditions that we have without XR, it would take us about 244 hours per year to read all the terms and conditions, and with XR, it's only going to get more complicated. So that's certainly an issue for us to tackle as an industry. And so if surrendering data is an essential precondition for masses to enjoy immersive worlds, which I think we can all agree on, to what extent then should users be opting out as opposed to opting in of platform features, and how do we best inform them? What data should be collected to begin with, and for how long, and how can we actually preserve the right to remain anonymous and give people an opportunity to enjoy that right? So in a nutshell, we see that VR is a really existential technology, which goes to the very roots of what it means to be human. It challenges our identity, it challenges our social interactions, just our existence as a whole, personhood. And that, I think, really means that, content producers in XR, as well as distributors, are acquiring almost godlike powers over the users while they're in virtual worlds. And that, in my opinion, invites a certain extent of responsibility for everyone in the industry to exercise, which is why my team and I are building this ethical framework for XR, which is basically intended to become a network of industry actors that understand and appreciate the importance of this responsibility and are united in the common goal of engaging in an informed and long-term debate around these issues in the hope to build a better immersive future for all. And this, under the ethical framework, the key characteristics of responsibility are basically based on these 4 principles. And the first principle is procedural fairness, which means that instead of focusing on the do's and don'ts and the black and white, we instead focus our intention on building the methodologies and building the tools that will enable us to ask the right questions and eventually get to the answers. The second aspect is inclusivity. So I really would encourage the industry as a whole to become more open-minded and invite new voices into the dialogue around its ethical design, such as academics and other stakeholders that have until now been excluded for obvious reasons. And the third part is proactiveness. So instead of waiting for the lawmaker to, which is lacking behind as it is, to come in and tell us what to do, we take the responsibility and we lead by example. And I think this is it could be an incredible opportunity for the XR industry to actually make a stance, because the tech world in general has until now been, in that sense, not performing so well, but we could make a difference, I think. And finally, the durability aspect. So instead of, we should resist that temptation of just stick with one-size-fits-all solution and then give up on ethics altogether, but instead treat this as an ongoing commitment and instill, these procedures that will enable us to continue discussing these issues as we evolve as companies, as we continue to come up with new products and services, just to make sure that we actually uphold it. And so in that regard, the ethical framework is basically built on the 3 pillars that are designed to help organizations understand what responsibility means for them, define it in the best way, and also to ensure the safety for the users. So the first pillar would be research and publication. So this is a purely theoretical pillar, where we conduct a multidisciplinary analysis of the ethical issues, come up with recommendations that are consolidated in publications, so white papers for the industry as large, as well as the guidelines for specific stakeholders, such as designers, developers, distributors, and so forth. The second pillar is about events and the social, what we call social experiments. So the social experiments will essentially be conferences during which we try to gather data and analyze it in order to incorporate it into the research, as well as Greek style, we provide this forum for debate to connect the different stakeholders and inform the users. The final pillar is the more practical one and is focused on training. So helping companies with specific methodologies and tools, helping companies to understand what it means to translate the high-level principles into the tangible practices that they can use to enhance their culture and improve their design and make it more ethical. So to conclude, as Diane Hosfeld put it, ethics are ideals and we will fall short of them, but not everything is lost. And I believe that as long as we assume our share of individual responsibility and continue to work towards these ideals as a collective, we will create a better immersive future for all. So thank you very much for listening. I would be very happy to hear your feedback, discuss these ideas, and if you need any specific guidance related to to your line of work, I would also be happy to discuss it all. You can reach out to me via email or on LinkedIn, or we can also just chat during the conference outside in the virtual hall. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. I don't know if anyone has any questions. Feel free to just send them on the auditorium chat. You still have a couple minutes, so if anyone has any questions, shoot. David is saying, very interesting presentation, thanks. As a co-founder of the French AFXR organization, I'm curious to know what is the business model of your activity. Thanks, Anna. David, maybe you can just add Anna and continue this conversation.
Oh yeah, sorry. I totally didn't. I totally unmuted myself. No, sorry, David. I just wanted to say that it will be based on memberships and like contributions from launching partners, and it will include an array of partners. So it's basically like an association that's based on membership. I don't know if that answers your question, but if not, we can also just discuss it in private afterwards.
Thank you, Anna.
Okay.
Well, I guess that's all, folks. Thank you all so much.
Guys, I'm seeing that there's still some questions in the audience. I would really like to talk to you all about it. So let's just try to connect afterwards, perhaps outside over our LinkedIn. I would really be happy to chat. And thank you all again for being here. It was a great pleasure.
We can start then. Cindy, let us know.
It's all right, guys. The floor is yours.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here with us today for this session on whether XR is cost-saving or not. I'm Julien Bergounou, Editor-in-Chief of Tech Media L'Usine Digital, and I'll be your host today. So, is XR cost-saving? That's an interesting question, and while it's tempting to just say, yeah, sure it is. Because it's such a young field, we're still lacking metrics and feedback. So to enlighten us on this issue today, we've got three great speakers who are Marie-Julie Pécou, who's product manager for ND3D at Capgemini. We've got Antoine Besbodko, who's executive producer at Wholeforge Interactive, which is a division of Asobo Studios. You might know them from the recent Flight Sim remake. And we've got James Watson, who's independent consultant at XR Tech Marketing. So, guys, we're going to take questions at the end of the session, if there are any. So don't hesitate to say hi in the chat and to, just leave your questions in the chat. I'll be reading them aloud if they're relevant to the conversation. All right, let's get started. So, ladies first. Marie-Julie, can you quickly explain what ND3D is used for, by what companies, and what gains they get from it?
Yes, thank you. So Untitled Remote is a product that has been developed by Capgemini. I do the precision because Capgemini is more known for services. We do services for XR, but Untitled Remote is really a product on the shelf that we propose to our customers in order to realize remote operations. So you can connect, of course, two person remotely, and the main objective is simple, to share video streaming, audio, make a pause, drawing annotations, and so on, in order to resolve a problem or to do inspections, to propose also remote training, because we know we have now less capability to travels and so on. So the objective is also to be very innovative with a lot of new devices like HoloLens, but also realware, and we are working on robot piloting remotely, and also, for example, virtual reality version for emerging remote person to inspect locations, for instance.
All right, thank you. So can you maybe detail us a bit what kind of clients use the solution and what the use cases are?
Yes, so the use cases can be, so the solution is really for any sectors, because we all know that the requirements to do some actions remotely, so it can be for automotive, but also aeronautic, energy, or telecom. Because we see Orange, for example, also. So it's really for different sectors, and in each company, the interest of this solution is to use it for very different use cases, like you say, for collaboration remotely on prototyping, for instance, but also design support to manufacturing in order to resolve a problem and relaunch production rapidly, and also, of course, for customer support. And so the very big interest of this solution is to reduce, of course, travels and the associated costs, but also to resolve incidents rapidly, and also to have experts more available to do more operations.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of cost savings, since that's the theme of the session, how much do we get? Like, it's like what, a third less travel, half less travel? Do incidents get resolved faster? How much faster do they get resolved? Do we have any stats on that?
Yes, so some customers display the capability to reduce travel around 30%, so it can be very interesting. And we have some customers that can reduce for a supplier audit, for example, around 1 million euros per year, reducing these travels, and so the time in aircraft instead of working also, of course. Thanks to remote assistance also, 80% of problems are resolved more fast, of course, and so the experts are also more available. Around 40% of their time can be used for new operation instead of traveling.
All right, thank you. Very interesting. Antoine, I know you've worked on simulation and training a lot with various devices, but primarily HoloLens. Can you lay out some examples for us of what you've done, for what companies, and again, what kind of savings they can get from it?
Yes, thank you, Julien. Our company, HoloForge Interactive, we are helping professionals solving the problem by providing services based on all the excellence, which is a characteristic of the video game in terms of design, user experience, and technology. So we've been working for many years now with Framatome on an XR solution called Holo Health Vision. With this solution, it can be used live in operation, but also in training. And what is interesting is that in training, for the first time, they can simulate radioactivity. So we can have operators doing some training in the safest way possible. And because it's very hard to have access to radioactive zone, with the ability to simulate this radioactivity around them, they can do trainings that they couldn't do before this kind of simulations. So I would say that simulation is really a key cost saving for all kind of industry, because if you can reduce the duration or the volume of real physical training, then you can save a lot of cost by digitalizing a lot of your training. So you have a direct impact on the amount of hours spent in real training and the amount of time spent in digital training.
All right, thank you. James, I know there's also a soft skills and human resources aspect to this. Do you have any insights you can share with us on the matter?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think, there's clearer sort of return on investment or sort of cost savings when you look at sort of harder skills, more procedural. When you get into the soft skills space, it's a little harder to judge. If you're giving someone diversity and inclusivity training through VR, they may come out and be able to interact with their colleagues better. It's kind of hard to sort of say, well, what does that mean to the business? It's that slightly intangible piece. But there was, from a sort of nuts and bolts cost perspective, PwC did a very interesting study about 3 months ago, and they looked at the cost of actually implementing soft skills VR training compared to e-learning or classroom training. And where they came out with that was quite interesting from the point of view that, once you get to around sort of 300 learners, VR training kind of starts to actually bring in cost savings. And if you get to sort of like 1,200 trainees, so if you've got a sort of company-wide training program, if you can implement VR, then it's actually cheaper than any other form of training just to deliver it. So forget the benefits the company will get from that training, because undoubtedly there are benefits from using VR in this case for training, but it's that pure upfront cost. It is costing less per head. So I think that's where it becomes quite interesting, and the conversation shifts a little bit away from, well, this is expensive technology, to, well, it isn't expensive, and how effective is it?
Yeah, so there's a scaling aspect is what you're saying. You might start with a small prototype on a small batch of people, and the cost saving is not immediately clear, but when you scale it up, that's where you start to see bigger and bigger gains.
Yeah, absolutely. I think once you get into the hundreds of trainees, that's when you're starting to see some genuine cost savings just from the technology itself.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. So when we talk about XR, there's of course AR and VR. And Marie-Julie, ND3D was primarily an AR solution before, but you've mentioned earlier that you're now building VR capabilities to it. Could you detail us what the use cases are for this, and what the interest is for the clients?
Yes, so today we have a customer that needs to know what needs to do, factory acceptance test remotely. So more and more companies produce equipments and they have to validate and inspect them before delivering to the customer and of course being paid. So the problem we have today with travels is really a big problem, and so they really would like to accelerate and to innovate into this acceptance and propose to their final customer to do it remotely with very basic features with PC, the capability to pilot cameras. We had also a robot, but the idea is also to say, okay, now it's easy to reuse 3D model or to scan the environment and generate 3D model and so on. And we could propose to the remote customer to use an Oculus Quest to be immersed into the factory and to have equipment in front of him and to be able to navigate around, to inspect and to give precise instruction to the operators on the field saying, okay, open this door, click on this button, and the objective of the final remote customer is to see the result. And we have also a Windows with the video streaming because on the field we have operators with HoloLens, with tablet, we have the robot, and so all this video flux will be shared into the Oculus Quest in the same time than the 3D model. So the big interest is to be like if you were in the factory thanks to 3D and Oculus Quest, because you are immersed into the factory. And so instead of being in Hungary, for instance, you can do it from US. The big interest is sometimes they have only 2 or 3 people that will come for the inspection. And thanks to remote tools, they will be able to be more efficient and to do it with 10 people connected to PC, to Oculus Quest and so on, and to realize this inspection remotely. And the configuration is also interesting for factory visit, because more and more customers have to do this visit of their factory to their final customer remotely too. And so the concept also of robot with the capability to pilot remotely a robot is interesting into this context.
Okay, so we've got the cost travel, saving aspect again. Antoine, I know you've also done something with Thales, a French defense company, for remote visualization of, how to say, command centers installation. Can you detail that use case for us and what Thales gained from it, what the clients gained from it?
Yes, sure. So we are working with a division at Thales, which are doing custom setup for a mobile command center. So it's kind of they are customizing mobile shelters, and they used to do it. So the process used to take something like 9 to 12 months because they were doing a lot of back and forth with the client and a lot of a real prototype made of wood or foam to find the right setup, the right ergonomy for this command center, because everything is very, you need to shrink a lot of specific equipment into a very small space. So know that they are using our solution called Holocene, and they are autonomous to do this setup with a HoloLens and mixed reality. And so they save up to 30% of the time of prototyping this installation thanks to mixed reality, because they are now able to iterate very quickly, much more quickly than they used to iterate with real prototype. Know that they are doing mixed reality prototype. The cycle of customization of this shelter has been shrunk by 30%, and they've been using it for it's in their process since 2 years now. So it's something which is deployed and used daily by Thales. So it's it's really you know, a lot of people are using today mixed reality just for R&D, and it's not R&D in the Thales case, it's in production since 2 years.
Yeah, and they save 30% of time selling the solution to the client, demonstrating its interest, and that saves more time for both their sales forces to sell more stuff, and their R&D people to create more solutions. I think that's interesting. We throw around these kinds of numbers: 30%, 80% time saving. I mean, it can numb you to the huge cost saving aspect of this, because like when you're operating on an industrial scale, just 3% cost saving is a big deal, and it's what we were saying with James earlier, is when you start scaling up. Yeah, James, you were saying something?
No, sorry, no.
Yeah, so I was saying, when you start scaling up, that's where you get a real advantage, competitively with your customers and, towards your competitors. And just before we move on, I wanted to say that, just from a design perspective and a prototyping and, conceiving perspective, heavy industries like the automotive industry or the aerospace industries have been using XR for a while, several years. And we get stories like, for example, General Motors saved up to 40% time designing their new Hummer vehicle. 40% time for an auto company, that's a big deal. And other companies like Volkswagen, Renault, but also companies like Bugatti uses these technologies to save up on time, and it's a big deal for them. So when you see these guys, when you see what they're doing, it might be tough to start thinking, how can I apply this to my business? And so, James, we've got a question from the audience that's specifically about how to convince a client. It's from Laurence Descamps, who is working on soft skill solutions, and she's wondering, how can she convince her customers that she will save costs using XR? Is it through scalability? Do they need to experiment on a small amount of user, on a large amount of user? How do you convince the clients that they will get cost savings through these means?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it isn't always about scale. Scale might be where you have to train, an entire organization in diversity and inclusion I mentioned before, because if you don't, that company can be liable if one of those, transgresses the guidelines. But, there are other elements, because there are so many different areas of soft skills that can come into this. Soft skills can be something that is a bit more functional, or it could be something that is, it could be leadership skills. It could be communication skills. Any of those things, or even sales skills as well, sitting across from, an awkward customer and how you deal with that. Yes, it's still looking at, avatars, but actually it's so immersive that people really do get drawn in, and you see how people react. So, there's the scale angle, but there's also, if you can improve your sales team and they improve by 2%, I mean, like Julian, you were saying, small percentage increases in large organizations can have a massive impact. Or if if your leader is more effective at communicating, well, it's hard to judge what the sort of impact is on the business, but it's only going to improve the business. Maybe ultimately that flows through to profitability in the bottom line. So to convince of implementing soft skills kind of depends on what you're trying to solve with those that soft skills training, and then working out, okay, what does success look like? What is an improvement? Is it, better employee engagement? Is it better employee retention, which also has a cost saving? If you retain people for longer, you're not having to retrain them, and therefore there's a cost saving there. So there's lots of different angles, to be honest, Laurence, that you can look at here, and lots of different arguments depending on what the organization is trying to achieve.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to move on to Marie-Julie and Antoine. How do you guys demonstrate the value of your solutions to the customers? How do you convince them? How do you approach them? I mean, basically what makes them decide to say, okay, yeah, let's do it. I know this is going to be valuable for me.
Yes, maybe if I start, I think on remote assistance, it's really easier than in XR, because clearly on XR, you need to create content and to use it after to see the difference between before, without XR and so on. So it's sometimes difficult to illustrate the gain you can have with XR. Remote assistance, it's really easy to illustrate and to estimate with the customer, because like we already discussed, you see the travel they will avoid, and you see the time they need to wait an expert instead of doing it remotely, because you solve the incident rapidly. So I would say it's easier to illustrate the cost saving with remote assistance than XR. So maybe if Antoine, you want to add something on XR because you have this experience.
Yeah, I would say to answer your question, Julien, generally the clients come to us with a problem to solve, and they have the feeling that XR can solve this problem in any form. It can be on remote assistance. It's quite it's ready to use, because as you have highlighted, Marie-Julie, there is no content creation, so you can use you can use a solution off the shelf and deploy it instantly for remote working. For other use case, as soon as you have content creation, well, that depends on what you want to develop and what complexity you want to develop, and it's all about cost and savings, of course. So if you are an industrial, as you said, if you can earn 5 or 10% in a process, and this process represent thousands of hours by years, so it's very easy to calculate your saving. So I would say in a lot of case, and for what we have seen in simulation and training, the earnings are quite easy to calculate, because you know exactly how much do you spend each year in training, and you can calculate quite easily how much can you earn each year if you are using XR for the same training the year after. So an industrial can easily calculate the savings.
Yes, and Julien, if I can add something, just for us also, there is 3 subjects that could help on cost saving and illustration. First one is really the digital continuity, because when we do XR, I think it's better to reuse CAD data and to see how to automate the simplification and improvement for XR of this data, but really objective, because we are also a big PLM actor, is to help customers to reuse the maximum data and to keep this digital continuity for having also content updating. So this is the first point. And the second, I think we have already said, but if we do just some production or very small content, we won't see the cost saving. I think really, like you said, the scalability and the generality of use of this technology will demonstrate the interest and the cost saving on this subject. And from a point of view also, XR is also just one subject in new innovations, and I think if we want to have more cost saving, it's really the link with other technology like IoT, like AI and so on, because also XR is essentially a display of information, but all the data you prepare before is also very important.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you raised. The fact that trying to build a separate, XR experience from your IT systems and your workflows and everything, that's not going to save people costs. And that's something that was done a lot in the past 5 years as people, tinkered and researched and prototyped, and that gives you great proof of concepts. But, going from that to an actual use case that's going to be useful at scale, deployed, and actual save costs, that's a whole other thing. And so, James, I think there's an aspect where, you know, people might get excited, you know, oh, XR is great. I'm going to just do XR and I'll figure out what I'll do it for later on. And that can be a trap, you know, because once you start doing something that's not appropriate for your organization, you're actually going to waste money and not save money. So how would you approach things? How do you advise companies to, you know, look at it? Do they need to figure out the use cases first? Do they need to go to someone? Do they need data to see what's a good use case or not?
Yeah, I mean, the way I'd respond to that, Julian, is, you know, just any organization when they launch any project, you know, if they don't have a sense of, you know, what business objective they have or what challenge they're looking to solve, then it'll fail, right? You know, and I think the problem we have slightly within the sort of immersive technology sector is because it is kind of still seen as sort of cool tech and sort of new and, you know, a good thing to get involved in. I think you get a lot of organizations who just jump in and think, yeah, let's do something with this technology, which is totally the wrong approach. It's more like, okay, this technology has some interesting, you know, capabilities. What part of our business can that impact? So, you know, it's no different from anything else. And if they don't look at it and think, okay, what's the use case for this? You know, is it, as Marie-Julie's talking about, you know, is there a sort of remote assist type angle here? Is it a, you know, retain staff? Is it take risk out of the business? Because, you know, some of the training you can do, particularly in VR, is phenomenally realistic and really stress test your employees. You know, so if you don't work out what you're trying to achieve and you're just, you know, I often say, you know, don't fall in love with the technology, fall in love with what it can do, you know, and so work out what you're trying to get from it. Because, and you're right, Julian, you know, the real problem is all it takes is one bad experience of the technology and an organization can arguably just write it off and say, right, you know, it didn't work. Well, arguably it may not have worked because they weren't trying to use it in the right way, because they were just trying to jam in some cool technology without really developing the right sort of use case. So use case is so important. Over the course of my career in this sector, you know, I've turned down numerous clients just by saying this is not the right use of the technology, because you can take the revenue in the short term, but in the long term, you're actually doing more damage.
Yeah, I see. And we got a question from Craig, who's asking from the perspective of a VR content creation company, whether you believe that, you know, enterprises will look to purchase off-the-shelf platforms in the future, or off-the-shelf solutions, or whether there'll always be a need for custom content.
You know what? I think this is a really, really key area, content creation, particularly from a VR perspective. I think organizations are starting slowly to wake up to the fact that they don't want to be having to pay huge agency fees to get content created or updated every time they need a change. And I think this is something that content creation agencies need to look at as well. And I think what you'll find is, yes, there will be an absolute bigger demand for off-the-shelf content, and I'm already seeing that in the industry, and lots of organizations, lots of VR companies in particular are creating off-the-shelf content. But of course, there will always be that element of customization that larger organizations need. But, you know, there are certain things that you can very much standardize, certain procedures. You know, within sort of health and safety, there are about 8 core modules within that, things like, you know, training at working at height, working in confined spaces. You know, there are fairly standardized things you can do. So organizations, I think, are going to be much more aware of content and content creation, and how they can be more in control of that process. And I think that will evolve over the coming, you know, year.
Thank you. Marie-Julie, Antoine, do you have any advice for companies who are looking into XR? You know, it's kind of the same thing James was talking about is, you know, let's say I'm you know, a boss of a small, medium-sized company, you know, an ETI, as we would say in France. I know I've got some things I could use XR for, but how do I start? What devices do I use? What should I need to look at? You know, any quick advice for people looking to get into it, but not sure how to start?
Yes, I think, Julien, you have the good approach. For me, what is important on XR, because it's a more and more a complex subject, because we have a lot of hardware, we have a lot of software, we have a lot of algorithm to 3D tracking for AR, different solutions for VR and so on. So sometimes I think some customer will go too rapidly on solution, and they don't take the time to well define their requirements and the use case, and they have to take some help in order to choose the good hardware and the good software for doing that. So I think what is important is really take time to have some help on this solution definition, because sometimes it can be complex, and I see a lot of the time maybe a bad solution because the solution is taken too rapidly. The first advice. And the second is really to say, okay, XR is one subject, but around the majority of the time and more,
Okay, everybody, we can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, I can start my introduction if you're okay with that.
Yes, please go on.
Okay, thank you. So hi everyone, and welcome to this speech session regarding the creation of marketing/communication value with XR. I am Mathieu Flegg, co-founder of CISC, a consulting and training firm working on digital acceleration of large companies. It's already my first year here at Virtuality, 2 as a speaker, 1 as a jury, and today as a moderator, so I'm really pleased to be here. XR has been one of my main focus for more than 10 years, and the link between marketing and XR is not new, as it was already a playground for agencies and production companies in 2010, 2011. But at the same time, a lot of things have changed. We have new devices as smartphones and easy to use headsets, and of course, a more mature approach of most of the clients. I believe that the next 3 years will see a huge acceleration regarding XR, and our guests today are at the avant-garde of this. Sadly, Stéphane Maguet from Royal Social is sick today, so we won't have the pleasure to listen to him, but the others are here with us. So please welcome Minsar, Synergies, Timescope, Light and Shadow, and Backlight, who will pitch for 5 minutes each. You will be able to ask your question in the chat, and I think we are going to start with Minsar, if you're okay.
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you for inviting me and inviting us. So when I see the subject of the speech, like create marketing and communication value, I wanted to, with XR, I wanted to go back to basics, because in fact, like create marketing and communication value means deliver the right message to the right target at the right moment. And in fact, today with social media has redefined the amount of content we have to produce in order to communicate efficiently, and so the amount of time we have to produce content. So except if you are a big company like Apple, Microsoft, or Orange, for example, you can't afford to take 1 or 2 years to produce one single content to deliver one single message. Whatever it's a video, a photo campaign, or an XR content. So, and if you take this amount of time to produce a content, you can be sure at some point it will be overrated at the moment it came out. So your communication or marketing value will approximately be equal to 0, and your return on investment will be negative for sure. You could advocate that one good content production is better than too much bad content. And I agree on that. Good things often take time to come out. But taking time for ideation doesn't mean you have to take time to produce the content. And for example, and we can all relate that, we are waiting a bit too much for the movie Avatar 2, for example. So the logic is simple for that. If you know that producing content for communication and marketing purpose with XR was all about coding and experience on one single device to distribute it once. You know that it takes time and it costs a lot. It costs a lot, in fact, if you taking in account the fact that most of the XR devices we had the last 5 years have become obsolete. And a lot more if you know that you engage your path into an innovative way. That is to say, you engage your audience with XR content. So your audience may have never experienced this before. Therefore, the only solution not only to create value for you with your XR content, but also to expect that people are going to engage themselves into it, is for us to offer a no-code solution to design once your experience, your XR experience, and then share it on different platforms. And platforms where your audience is. In fact, it could be like a browser, a social media, your app, or your website. First, because it's the normal path of a communication content. When you produce a video, for example, you share it everywhere. So you be sure you deliver the right message to the right target. Second point, because it's the only way to be efficient enough to be sure you're going to engage your audience today with an XR experience. So use XR to deliver the right message at the right time. And finally, because with a no-code solution, you will create value for your content, but also for everyone who is using XR content. Because with this efficiency in the content production, you will be able to produce content for 1 billion users on their smartphone and maybe soon on their glasses. And also because you will produce enough content to make XR technologies attractive for everybody. And so you will deliver the right message. That's exactly why we create Minfor, in fact, to offer creative professionals of all ranges, from individuals to big creative agencies, the possibilities to create XR content effortlessly in AR or in VR and share it everywhere your audience is. And it could be like on their smartphone today or tomorrow on their glasses. But the biggest asset is not that you are creating value only for yourself and for the content you produce, but for all the XR content produced and for all the XR industry. So you will be sure to engage more and more your audience. This is the same logic, in fact, that makes Instagram filters become the norm in the use of AR in such a short amount of time, because there are a lot of content accessible for more and more creative people to create them and used by a lot of people. And indeed, the same path was taken to, in fact, years ago for web design. We are passing from coding to no code and for creative to use it more and more. To reassure our coding competitors, of course, we will always need big production for XR content, as we need big movie studios shooting on film. But we also need creative professionals to make short campaign video, make graphic design or XR content for today's needs, saying the right thing at the right time and to the right people. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Gaëtan. I think you said several things I totally agree with. Your introduction regarding the back to basics, for example, is clearly what has to be done regarding everything that we are doing today at marketing, not to focus on the media, not to focus on technology. And of course, the more accessible it will be, the easier it will be to create experiences and everything, the better. versus what we used to see maybe 10 years ago. So I agree on that. Do you have any questions for Gaëtan regarding this subject? Maybe regarding the no-code part and the fact that also more and more people are being creative thanks to everything that is being done today regarding the way we have, it's easier to develop things and to create things. No? Maybe you will have the opportunity to ask more questions at the end of the session. So thank you. We will continue now with Damien from Synergies. Damien, are you here?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I have a question. It's possible to share a document, PDF?
Yes, sure, you can. You can click on screen management button, just near the button, go back to whole, and you can download or use your, if you already upload your document into your library, it will be available here.
Yes, I confirm. Okay.
Perfect.
Good, thank you very much. I'm Damien Leven, business manager from Synergies. Synergies is a benchmark actor on mixed reality in France. It's the one-stop shop for all topics around mixed reality. In order to take advantage of the potential of mixed reality, we have designed a solution to present you your products using HoloLens. And today I present our solution. The name is Arbor. Arbor allows you to present your products in an immersive way thanks to mixed reality. We have designed this solution to make it easy to present complex products remotely or in person. So how it works. First step, you create your project from your computer by loading the elements you want to display. For example, 3D model of your product, additional documents such as the product sheet, technical characteristic, all the elements you want to present around your product. Step 2, you deploy all the elements on the devices you want, HoloLens, but smartphone too, or tablet. And the experience is collaborative and multi-device. Step 3, you can manipulate the items at the same time with your client. The solution can be used with or without internet connection, so in face-to-face or remotely. Now I present a use case to you. It's about sublimation. For the company's name is Seri. Seri company design and commissions industrial machine tools. It's difficult for them to present their product because the customer must be able to move. So they use our solution to display the models they are selling. Thanks to Arbor, they can showcase the machine in great details of every component and every movement of the machine. They can display the machine in real size or in reduced size. And finally, we can add a point of interest. So about Arbor, the feedback we have had about Arbor is an easy to use application and a real business partner for the pre-sales teams. Thank you very much for your attention. And Synergies is present during the event. We have a space at location D3. Thank you very much.
I think Mathieu will have a small delay since he had trouble to hear you well. He just came to our YouTube channel to get the sound, but there is a little delay. So don't worry, we'll ask questions then. Yeah, I think Mathieu will come back. It will be easier. So maybe, do you have any question for Damien? Mathieu is back. Do you hear better, Mathieu?
Hello, do you hear me?
We hear you well, but can you hear us? It seems not. Okay. I will be there to help. It will be okay. Thank you very much, Damien. I think there are no questions right now. Maybe you want to add something?
No.
Okay.
If you want other use case, you can see us to.
Yeah, you got a booth, right?
Yes.
Where is it?
D3. Just.
D3. Oh yeah, it's a presentation.
Yeah, just near to Microsoft Space.
Yeah, you're in the Microsoft Village and
Yeah.
in the hall number 1. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you very much, Damien. I think Adrien joined us. Adrien, can we try your microphone, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you very well. Thank you very much.
Great.
The stage is for you right now.
Okay, great. So I have 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So the topic of today is how to create marketing and communication value through XR. So first of all, I will introduce myself. I am the co-founder and CEO of a company which is called Scope. We help brands and cultural and touristic venues to enhance their experience, their on-site experience. And so we work with about 100 clients, and we develop solutions which are based on XR and that generally have a VR or AR component. So just to start with introducing myself, I will go straight to the point. And share with you my insights on what's important in this topic. The question is how to create value and value through XR in marketing and communication. So when we think about value, we think of nice to have or must have. I think XR has been focused a lot, has been considered a lot as a nice to have technology for brands and for institutions since I'd say 5 to 10 years. It's considered to be something which is cool, nice to add to an experience, but which is generally not really linked to the core problems of the clients. So what we believe at Timescope is that we, in order to create value, to create a true value that is a value that's going to last, we try to focus on the right problems, and so that solutions which are developed switch from nice to have to must have, and in order to do so, we have conversations with our clients. We all start conversations with our clients by talking about business issues instead of talking about technology. And so lots of clients have a tendency, and I think the whole sector has a tendency to talk about technology, saying, okay, what's possible? What can I do? What are all the possibilities, all the features that you can provide me? Give me some examples, etc., etc. So we say to our clients, okay, no problem. We'll show you everything. But first of all, let's talk about your problems. Let's see what you want to achieve. What are you struggling with today? And after that, we'll talk about how we can find the right combination of creativity and technology to answer your problems. So I'd say that the way we do it is so creating marketing communication value is to talk about the problems and not to talk about XR with our clients. And so I'll finish. I think I'm almost. I think I have to finish very quickly, but I'll give you 3 types of solutions that we can implement and that we believe can create value, marketing and communication value. First one is a solution that we developed for Kering, the luxury brand. On its headquarters, they needed to really improve the way people understand how the brand is focusing on the heritage and how they respect the heritage of the headquarters where they are, which is a historical headquarters, which is a former hospital. And so we developed an experience showing to their public how they did it, and by reconstructing the past of this location and showing how it is to the current state. And so another example in terms of retail, a good case study, I think, which is in the current context, is that retailers have issues with the COVID because their clients in the luxury sector were used to touch their products, and they're now not really allowed to do so, or it's quite complicated to do so. So we are developing for a big retailer, which I can't say the name now because it's a project which is being developed currently, but we are developing an augmented retail experience that lets people experience the products without the need to touch them. And so it's a sort of augmented experience. So I think I used all of my time. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Olivier and Virtuality, for the organization. And if you'd like to follow up on this conversation and talk about problems and potential solutions, we'd be happy to help. Our booth is 87, I think, and my email address is quite easy. It's adrian@timescope.co. Thank you very much.
Mathieu,
Thanks a
are
lot,
you there?
Adrien.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm there. Sorry, I had a small issue with my sound apparently. I'm sorry, Adrien, I missed the beginning of your talk, but I'm so pleased to see here today. As I know Timescope for a long time now. I remember when you started with your first prototype a few years ago, and I like this idea and your reminder of. It's not a technology issue, and it's never actually a technology issue. Technology is the answer, but what is the question? And I think that we need to address the business issues and what are the real objectives of companies, and it will show and that the clients and the companies that we are working with, we are mature regarding this subject. So do we have some questions maybe for Timescope? If not, I think we can gather all the questions at the end, and of course I will have a few questions for myself. But okay, thanks a lot. I think that Olivia from Backlight is here. Light and Shadow is here as well. So let's start with Backlight, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, sure. All right, let me just put up my presentation on screen. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me fine? Hopefully you can. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Olivia. I'm the account manager at Backlight. Backlight has been around for 13 years, and we're specialized in XR for brand content, arts, and location-based entertainment. You may know already Backlight through some of our most well-known experiences for our brand content. For today, I'm not going to detail our track record, but I wanted to answer a simple yet crucial question: how can we create value with XR? Our roots are important since they are the reasons why we rely on the 3 following pillars for designing a brand experience now. With more than 60 VR projects overall, we figured out how to make a brand experience memorable while keeping the brand message or product message at the center of that. And that is a crucial part of writing a branded VR experience, in our opinion. So the three pillars that I mentioned before are storytelling, artistic direction, and the brand message itself. I have seen, as you may have as well, a ton of brands showcasing VR on their booths at a conference or in their stores that have nothing to do whatsoever with their industry. For example, pharmaceuticals showing a parachute VR experience, because VR used to be, and is still a little bit today, a buzzword and something that every brand needed to feel connected to the digital modern world their consumer know and expect. But the true value of a VR experience that is memorable and as such drives return on investment resides in great storytelling tied to a strong brand message. And that's very much like a well thought out advertising would be. Since XR campaigns are different from traditional ad campaigns and digital ads, let's start with this question: can value be created through XR? And our answer at Backlight is 1,000,000 times yes. And we do have the numbers to back that up. L'Oréal clocks a stunning rise of 120% in sales in the point of sales that featured our Diesel Only the Brave hyper reality experience. I wish I could talk to you a little bit more about it. I won't have time today, but feel free to reach out to me afterwards so that I can tell you a little bit more about this one. Renault came back to us 4 years in a row to renew their pit stop VR experience that we designed for them, and they showcased it on every Grand Prix worldwide. We basically only needed to change the model of the race car every year. Let me tell you that our team was excited to be working on race cars. Sodexo, for which we also worked, witnessed a drop of 20% to 50% in work accidents after training their personnel with our VR training experience for work accidents preventions. We also created a VR ride, which allowed guests to visit the camp, a massive campus in the south of France, before it was constructed. The experience allowed the camp to secure their final round of financing on the same day that then Minister for Economy, now President Emmanuel Macron, tried the experience. How do we explain these results? One word: engagement, and that is the true power of VR. It is the purest form of engagement there is. Obviously, the previous examples that I gave you were created and displayed when we were all able to meet with each other in real life, which allowed for another piece of the puzzle that we use to create great VR experiences, which is EFX. Haptic feedback such as wind, smell, vibrations, dynamic chairs, and even heat. Those enhanced the immersion and attracted curious potential customers, of course. Now, after this hell of a year, a question emerged: how do we create this engagement in a COVID and hopefully soon to be post-COVID world? Well, we found that XR has a lot to offer. Augmented reality, lenses, filters, virtual production, social platforms such as the one we're in today. All of those would help brands keep in touch with their audience during the lockdowns, but also after it. Create a sort of digital twin for your brand universe, and it can stay accessible to your customers as long as you would like, be as custom as you need it to be, and evolve with the years to come and their new digital practices. Whether it be for an event or several over the years, the digital space you'll have will remain no matter what. You're then able to have it evolve with your brand and have your potential customers and your employees live the story you want them to be within it, which was the title of my talk today, From Storytelling to Story Living. Of course, the lessened environmental impact is an important argument as well. No need to have your attendees or your customers travel to feel immersed in your brand universe. So for us, and we believe in that strongly, the experiential economy has a few great years ahead. These new mediums virtual production being one of them, to create immersive and qualitative content are just starting to be discovered and mastered. At Backlight, we have definitely diversified our offers to figure out better ways to engage with our clients' even during COVID. So the journey for brands, their ad agencies and studios like ours is just beginning, and we feel that that's the most exciting part. I hope you agree with that. Thank you so much for listening. Feel free to reach out via email or on LinkedIn should you want to know more, and that's it for me.
Thanks a lot, Olivia. I think we have maybe a few questions. Let me check in the chat. Okay, for the moment, I think we have an issue with Nuri from Light and Shadows. So maybe I will ask to all of you a few questions before that. I have a first question for all of our speakers today. We know that 2020 is quite a virtual year. And I would like to know if you saw an impact of COVID-19 regarding your activity, and maybe did it have an impact on the maturity of your clients? Because we are, everybody is saying, okay, digital transformation, for example, was led by COVID-19 and everything. But did you see an impact on your activity in the ways that you are interacting with your clients today?
Should I go first?
If you want to, you can.
All right. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, I think the whole industry was hit very hard with COVID. And the first thing that we saw is that people were just a little bit, our clients were just a little bit careful and mindful of the campaigns that they wanted to do, and everyone was just in the beginning waiting to see what was going to happen. And then the obvious thing that we saw happen is most of our clients and newer clients as well came to us and said, we need to go digital like yesterday. And that gave a boost to this social VR or social platforms, digitalized events market, which was just a little bit stuttering for the last 10 years. And it gave us this platform to just grow and accelerate in a very fast manner. But it also opens things in the minds of clients where, okay, so if we're going to do this because it's a very special time in humanity's progression, probably we need to make it last a little longer. And that's the first argument. That's what I was talking about just before, is you don't need to go digital just because there's a lockdown or just because of the pandemic. You may see this as something that can go forever and become a real universe, a real digital universe for your brand that people will be able to access for the years to come, that can evolve with your brand as well. So that's something that we saw happen, and that's definitely because of the pandemic. I'm not sure that answered your question, but that's my answer anyway.
That's okay. Thank you. I think that you're right when you say that you don't have to go digital only to go digital. And clearly, I think what did the pandemic did and what COVID-19 did is that a lot of companies understood that actually they were late regarding digital. So now they are in a hurry to transform themselves and to invest in digital, but they need to be done in the right way. So it's a discussion, but that's interesting, I think, for all the people who are working on digital, on VR and everything, because we are like winning time. I think that I saw that Light and Shadow try to connect and reconnect. Olivier, maybe do you have any feedback from Light and Shadows? No?
No, I don't think so. Sorry.
No, okay. Sorry, I said Olivier. No, sorry. No problem. For our two friends still on the stage, do we have any feedback regarding the impact of COVID-19 on your clients, maybe on your activity?
I'd be happy to share my. yeah, my feedback. Do you want to start?
No, let's go. Yeah.
Okay. So this is Adrian from Timescope. We most of our clients are locations, so cultural and touristic locations that have suffered really very directly and very highly from the crisis. And I really have the same feeling as the one you described, Mathieu, and also Olivia. The crisis gave a sense of emergency to our clients, that they need to move faster, and it also gave them the opportunity to take some time to think about their positioning, their strategy, what they want to offer to their public. So it's so in terms of digitalization and virtualization, it's really been an opportunity, and for our clients to move faster than what they were used to than what they were used to do. So yeah. So I really share your feelings on this.
Thanks a lot. I think that we had one or other speakers who wanted to share something, and maybe Nouri, are you here? Because I can see that you seem to be connected. Nouri, from Light and Shadows. No. Okay. So
yeah, she's here. Give us just 2 seconds, please.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, Nui, can you hear us, please?
Yeah, hi.
Perfect.
I can
We
see
got you. Perfect.
Thanks, Nouri. So please introduce yourself, and you can start your pitch.
Okay. Shall I share my screen maybe? Or you can do it by your side. Okay. Yeah, it's loading actually. So never mind. So I'm Nuri, and I'm business developer with a Light and Shadows company, and we are specialized in Can you hear me?
Unfortunately, I think we got some trouble with Nuri. It's an antivirus on her computer, which is a too strong antivirus, I think. So yeah, Mathieu, you can pursue your presentation and questions. Sorry.
Yeah, okay, no problem. Maybe for Minsa, I think you had something to add regarding the impact of COVID-19 on your activity.
Yeah, definitely. I share the same point of view from Olivia. The client's mindset has changed. In fact, it's not only they are wanting to be digital. Now they want to really create like a story living, and that's really the transformation we were waiting for just before the pandemic. Because like when you receive a client before the pandemic, they were asking for what you can do with the technology, and I think now they are asking what are the solutions. So it's really different, because now they are thinking about creating something, like really creating with art direction, with what will be the experience for the customers, and we see this transformation in the mindset, because before it was just something you add to the other experiences they were building, like videos, photos, etc. XR technology was just a plus, an extra, and now this is something they want to integrate. So that's a change in the mindset, I think. So yeah, that was just to add this.
Thanks a lot. Olivier, I think
Yeah,
we can
just
see
a
that
quick word.
Yeah,
we got trouble with Nuri computer, but Jordan from Light and Shadows will come to do the presentation in 2 minutes. So if you got
okay,
another question, it would be
no
awesome.
problem. I think that so we are talking also about the fact that the clients and the market globally is accelerating a bit. And I believe also that as people are spending more and more time on digital, for example, more and more time on digital platforms like social media, on in digital worlds like we are today, I think also that the big companies will invest more and more on the subject. Because maybe like when we're talking about the GAFA, like Google, Amazon, Facebook, and everything, they will have, they will need and they will want to invest more on technologies and maybe on headsets and devices, because what we are living today will have an impact on how we are going to behave even for the next years. So I think that even if this pandemic is like quite awful, it had an impact interesting about the acceleration of what we're calling digital acceleration, or the acceleration of transformation globally for everyone who is working on this market. Okay, I saw that we had some question in the chat. Maybe for Olivia, there was a question by Sami who was saying, could you explain how do you perform the transformation from storytelling to story living? Maybe a quick word on that?
Yeah, so I could discuss this for hours and hours, but the main idea behind from storytelling to story living is that, well, when you're in VR or even in AR, basically you're a participant and an actor within the experience. And so the point is that you're living it. So if as a brand or an ad agency, you can immerse your prospects or your customers within that brand universe, that makes it so that people are not only listening to the message that you're bringing them, but they're actually experiencing and living it, and that that propels the engagement to heights never achieved through traditional advertising or even digital through social media advertising. So that's really the power of VR. Again, engagement is all that brands need to think about when they're thinking of having a VR experience, which is why they really need to lock down that message, make sure that XR experience fits within a broader campaign, and that is just not a fluke or just a little digital accessory that they want to have for their brand because it looks good. They can use it so that people feel actually something and retain
Il y a
something
quand même
from the
encore des
brand.
bons restes des galères de trucs qu'on peut régler.
Oh, I think
sorry.
their mic on.
Too much
All right,
happiness.
well, that was it anyway.
Thanks a lot, Olivia. I think that we can now welcome Jordan from Light and Shadows. Jordan, are you here?
Hi, I'm in Nuri right now. I'm wearing our avatar. Thank you. But I don't see the PDF. Okay, yes. So I'm gonna fill in for Nuri. It's gonna be a bit of improv because she prepared the slide and I'm gonna discover them right with you. But I'm the CMO of Light and Shadows. Just a quick recap on Light and Shadows. So we are a company doing VR, AR experiences, either for marketing to put highlight on products, but also in industrial world to improve industrial process. So here we're going to talk about creating marketing and communication value with XR. The context, I think Nuri wanted to talk about augmented reality and how we could integrate it as a real technology into our environment, and take an example of one of the projects that we developed for PSA and using a utility car and building this AR application, so you can actually use your iPad, put the car and display the car in AR in your driveway, for example, and you can configure the car, change the colors, having more information, adding information about the size of the trunk, how many boxes that can fit in it, and this is really where you add value with an augmented reality app, because you give people more information about the product they want to see. We make the consumer in the concept of being an actor of its own buying process. I don't say that there will be no need for a salesperson to be with the customer and give counsel and advice about a product, but giving the key to the consumer of an AR experience and giving him the possibility to configure an object, whether it is a car, but also you can see that IKEA, for example, has also AR application to you can put your furniture into your apartments before buying them, so you can test if it fits, and this experience creates a lot of value. So yeah, as Nuri wrote in her slides, it's about the discovering of a product, taking into consideration all the possibilities that are around the product, and finally improving the decision-making process on the consumer side. And that's really one value of the augmented reality technology. Furthermore, it goes into the collaborative marketing. You have the engagement of the clients. She displayed actually in the IKEA augmented reality app. We didn't do it at Light and Shadows, but we believe that the technology really brings value inside the customer journey process in terms of engagement and trust. The customer feels closer to the brand. He can choose his preferences, but that's also a great deal of information coming to the client. And by the client, I mean here the IKEA, for example, they get the information of which are the most favorite configuration that are used by the end user. And those data are really very important for a company, because if you know which are the trends among your clients, then you can orient marketing campaign and using all this information for your marketing and communication brand. And that's basically it. Sorry if it was a bit messy, but I had to jump in.
No problem. Thanks a lot. I think it's really interesting because I remember 10 years ago, it was so hard to use augmented reality. You had to add a webcam on your own computer. You had to download something. You had to use a marker, and it was really painful to use it. But today it's so much easier. You also have things like LiDAR on iPhone, and the smartphone is like a game changer, I think, for all of that. And you also have like a web VR, web AR, and everything. So we are living, I think, an exciting time, regarding what we can do with AR, VR, and globally XR. So thanks. Exactly. Maybe I have a question for you, because we ask the same question to the other speakers regarding the impact of COVID-19 on your activity, maybe on the maturity of your market, the maturity of your clients. Do you have any feedbacks regarding that?
Of course, COVID had a huge impact on every businesses. For us, we really realized that lots of companies came to us to talk about the possibility of virtual showroom or technologies such as remote assist with HoloLens. And that's, I think, a key point of immersive technologies, because when you can't go to the shop, bring the shop to the customer. And that's exactly what's possible with VR, AR, and immersive technologies. And that's what actually we are doing right now all together, because using virtuality as a virtual event, when we can't go to a real fair trade, and having this possibility to do it virtually is amazing, I think.
Thanks a lot. Do you have any more questions for our speakers, or we'll close the session? Any questions? No? Olivier, I think if you okay, we are going to leave the session. For information, Adrien from Timescope had to disconnect because he ran out of battery on his computer. So he's sorry.
No, it's perfect. Thank you very much, Mathieu, for being the moderator of this session. It was really interesting. Thank you, Jordan, for your reactivity to help Nuri to do the presentation inside her virtual body. And thank you to all participants for being here, and for the audience for hearing these presentations, which were really interesting. Thank you very much.
Thanks
Next
a lot,
session should be in Auditorium B at noon. We're still waiting for Martina. We hope she will be there on time. So see you then. Bye-bye.
Julien, no news?
Si, elle arrive dans 2 minutes. C'est superbe la ponctualité argentine.
Elle avait déjà téléchargé tout ça?
Elle me dit qu'elle se connecte dans 1 minute.
Ok.
Donc, à mon avis, c'est qu'elle... Enfin, je sais pas. Elle arrive en tout cas. Hi everyone. Hi Martina.
Hi, hello.
How are you? So
I'm fine. Thank you so much for inviting me.
it's okay, don't worry. So let's begin because we're ready to begin. So I'm very pleased to introduce you Martina Santoro, Unreal Evangelist at Epic Games. She will be speaking about VR experiences with Unreal Engine. So thanks, Martina. And if you want to begin, it's your turn. Thanks.
Oh, thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Oh, sorry, how can I share my screen? Sorry.
You have a menu on your screen, and you have a screen management.
Screen management? Yes.
And
then
You can't share your screen directly. You can just upload a PDF or a video. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to upload it. Can you see the video I uploaded?
You have to
The
confirm
PDF,
it.
sorry?
Once you upload it, you have to confirm it so we can see it on the screen. You select the video and then you confirm, and we can all see the video. Yes, shows it's uploading. So we can
see it now. Thank you.
Okay. So it's uploading right now?
Yes, maybe you can just begin, and once the video is uploaded, you can launch it.
Oh, okay. I'm going to be uploading then also a couple of videos more. Okay, so while this uploads, I'm going to begin. Thank you so much for your patience.